Today, I want to talk about something quiet, but very powerful. I wish my family understood me better. Maybe when you hear that sentence, something inside you moves a little. Maybe you feel a small ache. Maybe you feel relief. Or maybe you feel nothing at first, just a soft recognition, like hearing your own thoughts spoken out loud. I wish my family understood me better. It is such a simple sentence. The words are easy, but the feeling behind it is not always easy. I want you to imagine something with me. It's evening. The house is not loud, but it is not completely quiet either. You can hear the sound of dishes in the kitchen. You can hear someone talking on the phone in another room. The television is on, but no one is really watching it. You are sitting at the table. You have had a long day. Maybe work was stressful. Maybe you made a mistake. Maybe someone criticized you. Maybe you tried your best, and it still didn't feel enough. You want to say something. You want to say, "Today was hard." But instead, someone asks, "Did you eat?" And you answer, "Yes." And that is the end of the conversation. You feel something inside you, not anger exactly, not sadness exactly, just a quiet distance. I have felt this before. I remember one evening very clearly. I had just finished a difficult week. I was tired in a way that sleep could not fix. I walked into the living room, and my family was there, talking about practical things, bills, schedules, small daily problems. I sat down and listened. I wanted to say, "I feel lost." But the moment did not feel right. The conversation moved quickly. No one asked how I was feeling, and I did not know how to interrupt. So I stayed silent. Later that night, in my room, I whispered to myself, "I wish they understood me better." Let's say that sentence together, slowly. I wish they understood me better. Again, I wish my family understood me better. Notice the structure, I wish. We use I wish when we are talking about something that is not true right now, but we hope it could be different. I wish they understood me. Try saying it softly, not loudly, just gently. I wish they understood me. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever explained yourself and still felt misunderstood? Maybe you tried to tell your parents about your career choice. Maybe you tried to tell your partner about your stress. Maybe you tried to tell your sibling about your dreams. And they said words like, "You worry too much," or "It's not a big deal," or "Just be grateful." And maybe they did not mean to hurt you, but you still felt unseen. There is a difference between hearing and understanding. Someone can hear your words, but not understand your heart. I think this is one of the most painful experiences in family life. Not fighting, not shouting, but the quiet feeling of not being understood. When I was younger, I believed that if I explained myself clearly enough, everyone would understand me. I thought communication was like math. If I say A and I explain B, then the result will be C understanding. But real life is not like that. Sometimes you say A and B and C, and the other person still hears something completely different. Let me tell you a small story. One Sunday afternoon, I was sitting with my father. He asked me about my work. I started explaining a new project I was working on. I was excited. I used my hands when I spoke. I tried to describe why it mattered to me. He listened quietly. Then he said, "But is it stable?" That was his question. Not, are you happy? Not, are you proud of it? Not, does it make you feel alive? Just, is it stable? At first, I felt disappointed. I thought, he doesn't get it. He doesn't understand what this means to me. But later, I realized something. Maybe he was asking about stability because, in his world, stability equals safety, and safety equals love. Maybe his question was his way of saying, I want you to be okay. Sometimes we feel misunderstood because people love us in a language we don't speak fluently. That sentence is important. People love us in a language we don't always understand. Repeat that with me. They love me in a language I don't always understand. Try it slowly. They love me in a language I don't always understand. In English, we often say, we're on different wavelengths. That means we are not thinking or feeling in the same way at the same time. Maybe you and your family are on different wavelengths. Maybe when you talk about feelings, they talk about responsibility. Maybe when you talk about dreams, they talk about risks. Maybe when you talk about mental health, they talk about strength. It does not mean one side is right and the other is wrong. It just means you are standing in different emotional places. I remember another moment. I once told a family member, I feel exhausted. And they replied, you're young. How can you be exhausted? I smiled, but inside, I felt small. Have you ever felt that when someone minimizes your feelings? We use the verb to minimize when we make something seem smaller than it really is. To minimize someone's feelings means to treat them as unimportant. But here is something gentle I have learned. Sometimes people minimize feelings not because they don't care, but because they don't know how to handle them. If someone grew up in a home where emotions were never discussed, they may not know what to do when you say, I feel anxious or I feel overwhelmed. They may change the topic. They may give advice too quickly. They may say, don't think too much. And you may feel alone. But maybe they are also uncomfortable. There is a phrase I like, emotional vocabulary. Just like in English, we need vocabulary to describe ideas. In life, we need emotional vocabulary to describe feelings. If someone only knows 5 emotional words, happy, sad, angry, tired, fine, then when you say, I feel disconnected, they may not know how to respond. Disconnected. Say it slowly. Disconnected. It means you feel separated, not physically, but emotionally. Maybe you sit in the same room with your family, but you feel disconnected. Now I want to share something personal. There was a time when I stopped trying to explain myself. I thought they will never understand me anyway. So I became quiet. At family dinners, I answered questions politely but briefly. How's work? It's fine. How are you? I'm okay. I built a small wall around my heart. Not a big wall, just enough to protect myself. But here is the problem with walls. They protect you and isolate you at the same time. When you stop explaining yourself, you feel safer, but you also feel lonelier. Maybe you have done this too. Maybe you decided it's easier not to talk about it. But deep inside, you still wish someone would ask one more question. Not just, how was your day? But how are you really? That word really changes everything. How are you really? Try saying that. How are you really? It feels different, doesn't it? Because it invites honesty. Sometimes I imagine what I truly want from my family. Not perfect understanding, not agreement on everything. Just curiosity. Curiosity is powerful. It means asking, help me understand. If someone says to you, help me understand, you feel respected. You feel seen. Maybe instead of waiting for our family to understand us completely, we can start by saying, let me help you understand me. That sentence is brave. Let me help you understand me. Repeat it. Let me help you understand me. Notice how it shifts the energy. It moves from disappointment to invitation. Of course, it is not always easy. Sometimes you are tired of explaining yourself. Sometimes you feel like you have already tried many times. And that's okay. You are human. I want to tell you about a small change I made. Instead of saying, you don't understand me, I started saying, I don't think I explained myself clearly. Now, this is not about blaming yourself. It's about opening a door instead of closing one. You don't understand me feels like a wall. I don't think I explained myself clearly feels like a bridge. Bridge. Say that word. Bridge. A bridge connects two sides. Maybe communication in your family needs a bridge. Sometimes I think we expect our family to understand us automatically because they have known us for many years. They should know me by now. Have you ever thought that? But people change. You are not the same person you were 5 years ago. Maybe your parents still see you as a teenager. Maybe your siblings still see you as the quiet one, or the funny one, or the responsible one. But you have grown. And sometimes our families don't see that growth immediately. That can hurt. But growth is often invisible at first, like roots under the ground. No one sees them, but they are there. I want you to think about something gently. Is there one thing you wish your family understood about you? Maybe you wish they understood how hard you try. Maybe you wish they understood that you are sensitive, not weak. Maybe you wish they understood that your silence is not disrespect. It is just your personality. Take a moment in your mind. Finish this sentence. I wish my family understood that. Say it quietly. I wish my family understood that. This is not just English practice. This is emotional practice. When you say your truth in English, you are not just learning vocabulary. You are learning self-expression. And self-expression is a form of self-respect. Sometimes we think, if they really loved me, they would understand me without explanation. But love and understanding are not the same thing. Love is a feeling. Understanding is a skill. And skills can be developed. Maybe your family loves you deeply, but their understanding skills are still growing. Just like your English skills are growing. You did not speak English perfectly on your first day. You practiced. You listened. You made mistakes. Understanding each other is similar. It requires patience. Patience. Say it slowly. Patience. It means the ability to stay calm when something takes time. And family understanding often takes time. I remember one conversation that changed something small but important. I told a family member, when you say, "Don't worry," I feel like my feelings are not important. I said it gently, not with anger, not as an accusation, just as a description. At first, they were surprised. They said, "I didn't know you felt that way." That sentence, "I didn't know," is not rejection. It is information. They didn't know. Sometimes we assume people know our inner world. But unless we speak it, they may not. Inner world. That's a beautiful phrase. Your inner world is your thoughts, feelings, fears, hopes, everything happening inside you. No one can see your inner world unless you open a window. And opening that window requires courage. Courage does not mean speaking loudly. Sometimes courage means speaking softly, but honestly. I want to say something very clearly to you. If you feel misunderstood, it does not mean you are too much. It does not mean you are dramatic. It does not mean your feelings are wrong. It simply means there is a gap between your inner world and someone else's understanding. A gap can be painful, but a gap can also be crossed. Maybe not completely, maybe not perfectly, but slowly. I think one of the hardest parts is this. We want our family to understand us without changing who we are. And at the same time, they want us to understand them. Understanding is not one direction. It is two directions. While you are wishing, "I wish they understood me," maybe someone in your family is thinking, "I wish they understood me too." That realization can soften your heart. Soft. Say that word. Soft. Not weak, not fragile. Soft means open, gentle, flexible. A soft heart can listen. Let me ask you something. Have you ever tried to understand your family's fears? Maybe your parents worry about money because they experienced instability. Maybe your mother gives advice because she wants to feel useful. Maybe your father speaks about responsibility because that is how he survived. Maybe your sibling jokes about serious things because they are uncomfortable with emotions. When we understand someone's fear, their behavior makes more sense. It does not mean we agree with everything, but it adds context. Context is important in language and in life. Without context, sentences are confusing. Without context, people are confusing too. I am not saying you must accept everything. I am not saying you must ignore your needs. I am simply inviting you to see the full picture. Sometimes, when I feel misunderstood, I try to say one honest sentence instead of a long explanation. For example, "I don't need advice right now. I just need you to listen." That sentence is clear. Repeat it. "I don't need advice right now. I just need you to listen." Notice how respectful it sounds. Not angry. Not blaming. Just honest. When you speak like that, you are not attacking. You are guiding. You are teaching people how to treat you. And that is powerful. Maybe they will not change immediately. Maybe they will forget sometimes. But every honest sentence you speak builds a small bridge. Bridge by bridge. Word by word. I want you to remember something important tonight. You are not strange for wanting to be understood. You are human. We all want to feel seen. To feel seen means someone recognizes your experience as real. If no one has told you this recently, let me tell you now. Your feelings make sense. Even if others don't understand them yet, even if you sometimes struggle to explain them, your feelings make sense. Say that softly. My feelings make sense. As you continue learning English, you are also expanding your emotional vocabulary. Maybe one day you will say to your family, in English or in your own language, something like, "I don't expect you to agree with me. I just hope you can understand me." That sentence carries maturity. Maturity is not silence. Maturity is honest communication without violence. And by violence, I don't mean physical harm. I mean harsh words, sharp tones, closed hearts. You can be firm and kind at the same time. Firm means clear. Kind means respectful. That balance is beautiful. Before we finish today, I want you to imagine a future moment. You are sitting with your family again. The room is similar. The sounds are similar. But this time, when someone asks, "How are you?" you pause. And instead of saying, "Fine," you say something slightly more real. "Today was a little difficult." Just that. A little door. And maybe someone says, "Why?" And maybe the conversation goes deeper. Or maybe it doesn't. But you tried. And that matters. Because understanding does not begin with them. It begins with your willingness to speak. Not perfectly. Not dramatically. Just honestly. I wish my family understood me better. Maybe that wish will always exist a little. No one can understand you completely. Not even your closest family. But if you can create 10% more understanding, 20% more openness, that is already meaningful. You are not alone in this feeling. Across cultures, across languages, across generations, people sit at tables and wish to be seen more clearly. And here you are, learning English, listening carefully, practicing new words. You are already doing something brave. You are choosing expression over silence. And that choice will change your life slowly, gently, beautifully. And before we truly close this space tonight, I want to stay with you a little longer inside this feeling. Sometimes the sentence, "I wish my family understood me better," is not loud. It doesn't shout. It doesn't create drama. It just sits quietly in your chest. It appears after a short conversation, after a small misunderstanding, after a joke that didn't feel funny to you, after advice that felt more like pressure. And you go back to your room, or you go back to your thoughts, and you replay the moment again and again. You think, maybe I should have said it differently. Maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe I expect too much. Let's pause there. Too sensitive. That phrase is very common. Many people hear it when they express emotions. You're too sensitive. But sensitivity is not weakness. Sensitivity is awareness. It means you feel deeply. You notice small changes in tone. You notice when energy shifts. You notice when something feels off. Sensitive. Say it slowly. Sensitive. It simply means you respond strongly to emotions or experiences. In language learning, sensitivity is helpful. You notice pronunciation. You notice rhythm. You notice meaning between the lines. In relationships, sensitivity can be a gift if you learn how to protect it. The problem is not feeling deeply. The problem is not knowing how to communicate what you feel. And communication is something you can practice. Just like English. I remember a night when I almost sent a long message to a family member. I had typed many paragraphs on my phone. I explained how I felt ignored, how I felt judged, how I felt tired of pretending. But before I pressed send, I stopped. I read it again. And I asked myself, what do I actually want? Do I want to win an argument, or do I want to be understood? They are not the same. To win an argument means you focus on proving the other person wrong. To be understood means you focus on revealing your experience clearly. So I deleted most of the message, and I wrote something shorter. When that happened, I felt hurt. I don't think that was your intention. I just want you to know how it felt for me. That was all. Not dramatic, not accusing, just honest. When you speak like that, you use what we call I statements. I felt, I experienced, I need. Instead of you always, you never, you don't care. Notice the difference in energy. I felt hurt opens a conversation. You don't care about me closes it. Try repeating this sentence. When you said that, I felt disappointed. Slowly. When you said that, I felt disappointed. Disappointed means sad because something did not meet your expectations. Disappointed. Now imagine saying it calmly, not as an attack, just as information. Your voice does not need to be loud to be powerful. Another important word here is intention. Intention means the reason why someone does something. Sometimes the impact of someone's words hurts you, even if their intention was good. Impact and intention are different. Impact is the effect something has on you. Intention is what the other person meant to do. For example, your mother might say, "Why are you still single?" Her intention might be concern, but the impact on you might be pressure or embarrassment. If you only focus on intention, you ignore your feelings. If you only focus on impact, you might misunderstand their heart. Understanding grows when we consider both. You can say, "I know you care about me, but when you say that, I feel pressured." That sentence is balanced. It acknowledges love and expresses truth. I know you care about me, but when you say that, I feel pressured. Say it with me. I know you care about me, but when you say that, I feel pressured. This is not just English practice. This is emotional courage practice. There is another layer to this theme that many people don't talk about. Sometimes we want our family to understand who we are now, but they are attached to who we were. Maybe you were the quiet child. Maybe you were the responsible one. Maybe you were the rebellious one. Families create roles. Roles are patterns to identities, expectations. And even when you grow, the role can stay. You change internally, but the family still speaks to the old version of you. That can feel frustrating. Frustrating. Say that word. Frustrating. It means making you feel annoyed because you cannot change something easily. When that happens, instead of fighting the role directly, sometimes it helps to gently introduce your new self. not in one big announcement, but in small, consistent actions. If they see you as irresponsible, show responsibility quietly. If they see you as weak, show calm strength in your responses. Over time, perception shifts. Perception means the way someone sees or understands something. Perception can change slowly, but it does change. I want to talk about another feeling that hides inside this topic. Resentment. Resentment is a quiet anger that grows over time. It appears when you feel misunderstood again and again, and you stop expressing it. You smile on the outside, but inside, something becomes hard. Resentment builds when silence replaces honesty. If you never express small hurts, they become heavy. Like carrying stones in your pocket every day. At first, one stone is light, but after many days, you feel the weight. Maybe you are carrying some stones right now. Unspoken words, unshared feelings, unanswered questions. The goal is not to throw the stones at someone. The goal is to gently take them out of your pocket, one by one, with calm language. There is a beautiful phrase in English to clear the air. To clear the air means to talk openly about a problem so that tension disappears. Clear the air. Imagine a room full of smoke. You cannot see clearly. You cannot breathe easily. When you open the windows, fresh air enters. The smoke slowly leaves. Honest conversation is like opening a window. It may feel uncomfortable at first. The air feels cold, but it becomes cleaner. Maybe you cannot change your entire family dynamic. Dynamic means the way people interact with each other. Family dynamics are complex. They are shaped by history, culture, personality, and experience. But you can change your part. You can change how you respond. You can change how you express yourself. And that alone can shift something. I also want to acknowledge something important. Not all families are emotionally safe. Sometimes misunderstanding is small and innocent, but sometimes communication patterns are deeply unhealthy. If you have tried many times and your voice is ignored, mocked, or disrespected repeatedly, it is okay to create boundaries. Boundaries are limits you set to protect your emotional well-being. For example, I don't want to talk about that topic. If the conversation becomes disrespectful, I will leave. I need some space right now. Boundaries are not punishment. They are protection. Say this sentence: I respect you, and I also respect myself. Again, I respect you, and I also respect myself. Healthy understanding requires mutual respect. Mutual means shared by both sides. If you are always the one adjusting, always the one explaining, always the one trying, and no one listens, it is natural to feel tired. And being tired does not make you selfish. It makes you human. Sometimes understanding does not mean agreement. Your family may never fully agree with your choices, but they can still respect them. You can say, I know you see it differently. I just hope you can respect my decision. Respect my decision. Say that slowly. Respect my decision. Notice how calm it feels. When you speak clearly and calmly, you are practicing emotional leadership. Leadership is not only for work, it is for relationships too. You lead by example. You show how to communicate. You model the tone you hope to receive. There is something else I want to share with you, very gently. Sometimes the person who needs to understand you better is you. Sometimes we feel misunderstood because we haven't fully understood ourselves yet. We feel something uncomfortable, but we cannot name it. Is it sadness? Is it fear? Is it disappointment? Is it shame? The more clearly you understand your own emotions, the more clearly you can express them. Self-awareness is powerful. Self-awareness means recognizing your own thoughts and feelings. If you say, "I feel bad," it is vague. But if you say, "I feel unappreciated," it is specific. Unappreciated means you feel your efforts are not recognized. Try saying it. "I feel unappreciated." Or, "I feel overwhelmed." Overwhelmed means you feel like there is too much to handle. The more specific your emotional vocabulary becomes, the easier it is for others to understand you. This is why learning English can support your emotional life. New words give you new ways to describe your experience. And when you can describe something clearly, it becomes less confusing and less heavy. I want you to imagine something peaceful now. You are sitting with your family in the future. Not a perfect family, or not a movie scene. Just real people. You speak honestly but calmly. They listen, maybe not perfectly, but more openly. There is still difference. But there is also effort. Effort is important. Effort shows care. Maybe that is enough. Maybe complete understanding is unrealistic. But sincere effort on both sides is beautiful. If tonight you still feel that quiet sentence inside you, "I wish my family understood me better," hold it gently. Do not judge yourself for it. It simply means you value connection. And valuing connection is a sign of emotional depth. You are not asking for too much. You are asking to be seen. And the more you practice expressing yourself here in English, with me, the more confident you will become in expressing yourself everywhere else. Language is not just grammar. It is identity. It is courage. It is bridge building. And every time you learn a new phrase like, "I feel," "I need," "I hope," "I don't feel comfortable," you are building tools for real life. Before we truly close, I want you to take one slow breath and finish this sentence one more time. I wish my family understood. Let the rest come naturally. Maybe you will speak it one day. Maybe you will write it. Maybe you will simply understand yourself more deeply. And sometimes that is where healing begins. You are allowed to grow beyond old roles. You are allowed to express your needs. You are allowed to protect your peace. And you are allowed to hope for deeper understanding without losing your kindness. And even after saying those words, I still feel there is something more to sit with. Because this feeling does not disappear in one conversation. It does not disappear in one brave sentence. It lives in small daily moments. It lives in the way your mother looks at you when you make a decision she doesn't agree with. It lives in the silence after you share an opinion at the dinner table. It lives in the short reply, "Oh." That simple word, "Oh." Sometimes "oh" can mean surprise. Sometimes it can mean disappointment. Sometimes it can mean disapproval. And sometimes we imagine meanings that are not even there. This is another important part of feeling misunderstood interpretation. Interpretation is the meaning we give to someone's words or actions. Two people can hear the same sentence and interpret it differently. If someone says, "That's interesting," one person may feel encouraged. Another person may feel judged. Our past experiences shape our interpretation. If you have felt criticized many times before, you may expect criticism even when it is not there. If you have felt unsupported before, you may expect rejection even when someone is trying. This does not mean your feelings are wrong. It simply means your mind is trying to protect you. Protection is natural, but sometimes protection creates distance. There is a gentle question I like to ask myself in difficult family moments. What else could this mean? If someone sounds cold, I ask, are they tired? If someone sounds impatient, I ask, are they stressed? This does not excuse hurtful behavior, but it creates space. Space is important. Without space, everything feels personal. With space, we can breathe. I remember once I told a family member about a new idea I was excited about. They responded with many practical concerns. What if it doesn't work? What if you fail? Have you thought about the risks? At first, I felt discouraged. I thought, why can't you just support me? But later, I realized something. Some people show love by protecting you from danger. They do not say, "I believe in you." They say, "Be careful." And in their language, "be careful" means I care about you. Understanding different love languages is powerful. Not romantic love, family love. Maybe your father rarely says, "I'm proud of you." But he fixes your car. He pays attention to small practical things. He asks about your health. Maybe your mother worries too much. She repeats the same advice again and again. Maybe it feels controlling. But maybe anxiety is her way of expressing love. When you see behavior through the lens of fear instead of control, something softens. Lens. Say that word. Lens. A lens changes how you see something. If you change the lens, you change the image. But I want to be honest with you too. Changing the lens does not remove all pain. You can understand someone's fear and still feel hurt by their words. You can know they love you and still wish they expressed it differently. Both can be true. Both. Say that. Both can be true. I understand you, and I still feel hurt. This is emotional maturity. Holding two truths at the same time. Sometimes we think understanding means we should not feel pain anymore. But that is not realistic. Understanding reduces anger. It does not erase emotion. Another layer of this topic is comparison. Families often compare. Look at your cousin. Your brother is more responsible. When I was your age. Comparison creates distance. It sends a message you are not enough as you are. If you have experienced comparison, you may feel a quiet pressure to prove yourself, to achieve more, to do better, to be impressive. But proving yourself is exhausting. Exhausting means extremely tiring. Exhausting. When you feel you must earn understanding or earn approval, love feels conditional. Conditional means dependent on something. I will accept you if you succeed. I will praise you if you behave this way. But deep inside, you want unconditional acceptance. Unconditional means without conditions. You want to be valued not only for what you do, but for who you are. Who you are. That is identity. And identity grows over time. If your family struggles to see your identity clearly, it does not mean it is not real. It just means they need time to update their image of you. And sometimes they never fully update it. And that can be sad. Sadness is not weakness. Sadness is acknowledgement. Acknowledgement means recognizing something as true. You can acknowledge that your family may never completely understand certain parts of you. And you can still love them. And you can still love yourself. There is another sentence I want you to practice. I don't feel seen. Say it. I don't feel seen. To feel seen means to feel recognized and understood. Now add something gentle. I don't feel seen, and I want to explain myself better. Try it slowly. I don't feel seen, and I want to explain myself better. Notice how this sentence includes responsibility and hope, not blame. Hope. Hope is important. Hope keeps conversations alive. But hope must be realistic. Realistic hope does not expect perfection. It expects progress. Progress means improvement over time. Even 5% more understanding is progress. And sometimes progress is invisible at first. Like language learning. You may not notice improvement daily. But after months, you look back and realize, I speak more clearly now. Family understanding works the same way. Small conversations, small clarifications, small boundaries. They accumulate. Accumulate means to grow gradually over time. But let me tell you something else, something very human. Sometimes you are not only wishing to be understood by your family, you are wishing to be understood by your younger self. Maybe there was a time when you felt invisible. Maybe you learned to stay quiet to avoid conflict. Maybe you learned to hide emotions to keep peace. Children are very intelligent. They adapt. Adapt means to change in order to survive. If expressing emotion caused tension in your home, you may have adapted by becoming silent. If speaking your opinion caused criticism, you may have adapted by agreeing. Those adaptations helped you once. But now, as an adult, they may limit you. And when your family still interacts with you as if you are that quiet, adapting version, you feel misunderstood. Because you are not that person anymore. Growth requires updating old patterns. Old patterns do not disappear automatically. You must gently interrupt them. Interrupt. Say that word. Interrupt. It means to stop something temporarily. If your old pattern is silence, interrupt it with one honest sentence. If your old pattern is pleasing everyone, interrupt it with one boundary. This is not rebellion. It is evolution. Evolution means gradual change. And you are allowed to evolve. Even if your family evolves more slowly, sometimes the deepest understanding does not come from long explanations. It comes from consistent behavior. If you consistently speak calmly, even when others raise their voice, they begin to see your emotional strength. If you consistently express your needs respectfully, they begin to expect that from you. Consistency builds identity. Identity builds respect. Respect builds understanding. It is a chain. But it begins with you. I also want to remind you of something gentle. Not every conversation must be deep. Sometimes we pressure ourselves to fix everything, to have one big emotional talk that solves years of misunderstanding. But life rarely works like that. Sometimes healing is built in small, ordinary moments. Sharing tea, cooking together, watching something simple. Connection does not always come from serious conversations. Sometimes it comes from shared experience. Shared experience builds familiarity. Familiarity builds comfort. And comfort creates space for deeper talk later. If you feel tired of trying to be understood, it is okay to rest. Rest does not mean giving up. Rest means protecting your energy. You cannot force understanding. You can invite it. Invite. Say that word. Invite. You can invite someone into your inner world, but you cannot drag them inside. And if they are not ready, that is not a reflection of your worth. Your worth is not measured by how well others understand you. Your worth is inherent. Inherent means naturally existing, not dependent on anything else. Your worth is inherent. Say it quietly. My worth is inherent. When you believe that, misunderstanding feels less threatening. It still hurts sometimes, but it does not define you. Maybe one day, years from now, someone in your family will say, I didn't realize how you felt back then. And you will smile softly, because you will know you did your best to communicate. And you will know that growth takes time, not only for you, but for everyone. As we come to the end of this long, gentle reflection, I want you to notice something. You are still here. You are still listening. You are still practicing. That means you care about connection. You care about language. You care about becoming more aware. And that already makes you different from who you were yesterday. If tonight you sit at a table with your family and nothing changes immediately, that is okay. Change is rarely dramatic. It is subtle. Subtle means small, not obvious. But subtle shifts create new directions. Maybe tonight, instead of thinking, they will never understand me, you think, I will express myself clearly, even if they don't fully understand yet. That small shift changes your power. You move from waiting to acting, from wishing to speaking. And speaking, even imperfectly, is courage. You are not alone in this journey. Across the world, in many languages, people are whispering the same wish. I wish my family understood me better. And slowly, word by word, conversation by conversation, they are building bridges. So are you. Keep building. Keep learning the words that help you describe your heart. Keep practicing calm honesty. Keep protecting your sensitivity. Keep trusting that growth, even invisible growth, is real. And as we gently let this conversation settle, I want you to carry one final thought with you. Understanding is not a destination. It is a practice. You practice it with others, and you practice it with yourself. There will be days when you feel heard. There will be days when you feel invisible. Both are part of being human. If you can leave this episode with one quiet strength, let it be this. You do not need to be perfectly understood to be worthy. You do not need everyone's agreement to trust your path, and you do not need to silence yourself to keep the peace. Peace built on silence is fragile. Peace built on honest respect is strong. So the next time you feel that familiar sentence rising inside you, I wish my family understood me better, do not push it away. Listen to it. It is not a complaint. It is a longing for connection. And longing for connection is a beautiful thing. Let that longing guide you toward clearer words. Let it guide you toward softer tone. Let it guide you toward healthy boundaries. Let it guide you toward deeper self-understanding. You are growing not only in English, but in emotional clarity. And that kind of growth changes generations. Maybe one day, because you learn to speak with calm honesty, someone in your family will feel safer speaking too. And that is how cycles shift, quietly, gradually, through one brave sentence at a time. Thank you for spending this time with me. This is English with Thomas. I'm Thomas. Keep speaking, keep growing, and keep trusting yourself.